got one neat trick for solving the border crisis. It's called enforcing the law. Of course, the big crisis of the week, and frankly the crisis of the Biden administration, one that is existential in its threat to the United States, is the border invasion enabled, aided, and abetted by the Biden administration. It's the largest human trafficking operation in the history of humanity, the largest net migration, I would say, of peoples in the history of humanity, and all with the approval and encouragement, practically speaking, of the Biden administration. They pretend to be opposed to it while essentially allowing it to take place by not securing the border and turning people back immediately. Now, the focus has been on this so-called Title 42. I guess it's not so-called, it's an actual portion of federal law that was enacted or invoked in response to the COVID emergency that allowed essentially immediate turn back in a good way of aliens trying to cross the border illegally. Now, of course, they kept on coming back, but so it had limited effect. But it really helped secure our border more than it was previously secured. Now, that authority is supposedly lapsing or is lapsed as a result of the Biden administration's refusal to continue the emergency. The emergency is tied to health, right? Now, I don't know about you, but isn't it a health crisis still if illegal aliens are crossing the borders in massive numbers? Not just from COVID, but from other diseases and public health consequences as a result of this massive invasion? Of course. But don't be confused about, oh, well, we can't do anything because Title 42 is ended. Because the law requires, I would submit, and allows, and there's nothing certainly outside the law in terms of what Biden has to do in order to secure the border. I mean, current immigration law allows him to stop people from crossing the border or turn them back immediately. And of course, from the national security perspective, that the civilian workforce under DHS and the Border Patrol and Immigration Customs Enforcement and those that are backing them up now, given the increased pressures there, can't do it, that he can deploy the military. I was semi-joking this week on Twitter and on social media. I think we just posted something earlier today that, I've got one neat trick for solving the border crisis. It's called enforcing the law. So you enforce the law, no one crosses the border. And of course, if you take national security seriously, if you take our nation's sovereignty seriously, you would ensure that obviously the open border that's practically there, and I know they argue whether there is an open border or not, but it's open. In the sense you cross, and it's unlikely you will have to go back. And if you cross, you'll be let into the country, and no one knows what happens to you after that. I mean, obviously that's a national security risk. And not only are Central Americans and South Americans taking advantage of it, but Chinese nationals are now taking advantage of it. The Venezuelans are taking advantage of it. Now, do you think Chinese nationals are crossing the border in large numbers without permission of the Chinese Communist totalitarian government? Oh, come on. So another way to solve the border crisis are 3 words issued to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff or any other responsible defense official. And 3 words could be issued immediately by Joe Biden. Secure the border. And it would be over. Militaries are designed to secure borders. We've been doing it for generations here in the United States abroad. We know how to do it. Our military could get it done in a heartbeat. But we don't want to do that, right? And by secure the border, it doesn't mean you stop the economy that is very important, frankly, for Mexico and the United States. It means that you stop illegal crossings, and the military can do that, while allowing legal traffic to continue and commercial traffic and trade and such to continue. But the left, I keep on saying, this is a revolutionary period we're facing. And the radical left opposes the idea of secure borders and sovereignty. They don't believe in national sovereignty. And so one way to destroy America is to open its border. You have no borders, you have no country. And so I don't know about you, but the idea that 5 million people, at least 5 million according to reports, have come through already under Biden, and who knows how much more those numbers will increase under the current iteration of the crisis. But we're losing our country because we're having folks who are here unlawfully present, distort our national fabric under the law, economically, and in all sorts of other ways. And Americans have a right to secure borders. They have a right to a Republican form of government, right? That's something the president and the federal government is supposed to guarantee the states. How is it you can have a Republican form of government if a significant portion of your population isn't supposed to be there and has a right and a claim on your resources? With no vote, nor should they have a vote, but nevertheless a claim. I mean, it's bad enough we've got government that's out of control that thinks, they're not answerable to the American people. Now we have foreign nationals coming to the United States by the millions, and they get to take our money, practically speaking. They take our money. It's not charity. This is government spending, taking money from American citizens to support foreign nationals who are unlawfully present. So this is the border crisis we're facing. And of course, it's as I said earlier, it's part of a human trafficking operation. So it helps the cartels. It helps the terrorist entities that work with the cartels. It helps our enemy governments and governments who want to see the United States taken down a notch, to put it mildly. It helps them, so it's a national security issue. And on top of everything else, it harms the children and families and human beings who are trafficked into the United States. If you love illegal aliens, meaning you want to protect their rights, you want them to be safe and secure, then you ought to stop illegal immigration. Those of us who want to secure the border are those on the side of human rights. Those of us who want to secure the border are on the side of civil rights. Those of us who want to secure the border are on the side of families. Those of us who want to secure the border are on the side of children who are being trafficked, and sexually trafficked, by the way, through Mexico into the United States. At least 250,000. And what happens is our government ends up bringing these kids who have been trafficked illegally. We end up participating in the trafficking by putting them with supposed responsible adults, assuming that we can even track the news is recently we can't even track these kids once they come in, even though we're supposedly responsible for where they go. So the Biden administration and those who support open borders are on the other side of human rights, are placing children and lives in jeopardy, are placing our national security in jeopardy, and are advancing the far left cause of destroying the United States of America. Now, Judicial Watch has been fighting for border security and enforcing the rule of law on immigration for as long as I've been here, which is 24 years, believe it or not. And, we've highlighted and challenged these sanctuary policies, which encourage illegal immigration and prohibit local police from helping enforce the law, because they're a force multiplier, right? No one should be here unlawfully and not have to worry about dealing with law enforcement of any type. But that's not the way these sanctuary cities work. They help illegal aliens remain here contrary to law. And now, of course, because places like Texas and Florida have been sending these illegal aliens from their states up to New York and Chicago, they're all complaining. Every town is a border town when your borders are open. And and the other solution is if the Biden administration isn't going to repel this invasion, our Constitution, and I don't have the exact language off the top of my head, but you can look it up. The states can get together and defend themselves against invasion, and they don't need anyone's permission to do so. Now, of course, if they did that, I'm sure the Biden administration would sue them in court, but that's a fight worth having if you're trying to save your state from invasion, don't you think? So I would encourage the governor of Texas, Governor Abbott. I know he's sent some folks down to try to help secure the border in recent days, but it's not enough. I mean, he's got to defend his border as if there's an alien invasion, because there is. And other states should work with him to do so as well. That means sending the National Guard of Georgia, of Florida, of Oklahoma, dare I say it, New York and Illinois, if those governors are serious about defending and upholding their state sovereignty. And, I've talked about impeachment of President Biden. I'll talk about it a little bit more. But if you're purposely not protecting the country from invasion and actually helping foreign nationals invade the United States, or if you don't want to use such strong language, avoid federal law, isn't that a reason for impeachment? I think it is. And the fact that Republican members of Congress are hesitant to talk about it, and of course Democrats don't want to talk about it at all, it's an indictment of our political class that a president can so dangerously place the country at risk, and no one wants to do anything about it in a way that stops it from happening immediately, right? So that's the big news of the week, and we'll see what happens. I mean, the Biden administration, I think, because elections are coming up, maybe they'll be a little bit more aggressive in defending the rule of law on the border, but I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't count on it. Their way of handling illegal immigration is to let's put it this way, mislabel illegal immigrants as lawful immigrants. When you hear the word parole, what that means is they're allowing illegal immigrants to come into the country by the tens of thousands and offering them, quote, parole, meaning exemption from enforcement of immigration laws for a year or two, at least 2 years, I think. And then they say, oh, look, the numbers have gone down because we started abusing the law to give temporary amnesty to hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens. So you have to be on watch when it comes to the border because we're losing our country. We're losing our country in so many ways, but it's really quite explicit when millions of foreign nationals get to come into the country. And by the way, what does the left want to do once they're here? Again, they want them to get access to your government record, to government dollars, to get Obamacare. I know here in Washington, D.C., they want illegal aliens to be able to vote. And legal aliens. So the ambassador from Russia gets to vote in D.C. if they had their way. Plus illegal aliens from Venezuela get the vote. And that's the goal of the left, to eliminate the distinction between citizens and non-citizens in the governance of our nation. Again, the end of America. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.